Good morning and welcome. I'm Bob Pace. I'm your host for the Fight CPS with Bob Pace. I want to welcome our new member, Tanya Stevens. She is a new YouTube member and welcome aboard. You've reached a live podcast that you found me on Facebook and I'm broadcasting on YouTube using the StreamYard application. And I am here this morning to talk to you about how to fight CPS, the Child Protection System, and how to keep your children or not lose your children or get your children back. All of you have different aspects with the Child Protection System. Now, that agency, the Child Protection System, is a government agency today. It is a branch of social services, and the purpose today is to protect our children from abuse and neglect and to do family reunification, meaning the family that CPS breaks up, they're supposed to get you back together because it's been study proven that the best parents are the biological parents. That's why we need reunification. It's very, very important there. Now, I'd like to first start off um, with some general housekeeping about how to interact with this live podcast. How to interact. There are three ways. There's no set order, but there are three ways. The first one is if you want to talk on the show, all you do is call my office number 626-698-0990 and you can talk on the show. I'll put the speaker button on my phone and then you broadcast and they'll pick it up. So that's a real good way to talk about your case and to get answers about your case or to help other people. You may want to help other people. Good morning, Lori Hiller. Um, and good morning, Lori Mullins. Um, I guess Lori Mullins is Lori Hiller's daughter. And she comes on, doesn't say anything, but she's here to listen. A lot of people in this world are very much hurt by the Child Protection Services. They are a bad, bad agency. Very, very bad. And what I want to do is I want to invite some people because sometimes the notifications that come out are delayed. So I'm personally inviting these people to come aboard. Okay. I've invited Natalia from West Hollywood, Faye from Richmond, Kentucky, and Daniel from Georgia. Okay, and I'm also checking to make sure there's no one that called after hours. That's real important when you do call in. Is that if you want to talk on my office line, you need to call in at certain times. I'm on the show from 10 o'clock in the morning for an hour Pacific Standard Time. except on Sunday I come on early at 8 o'clock, 2 hours earlier on Pacific Standard Time. I'm on again at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and I'm on an hour there, so that's 7 to 8. During those times, my phone is available to call in. If you call outside those times, um, I'll have to text you back that you can only talk to me during my showtime hours because I don't answer the phone on non-showtime hours. Now, CPS is a hard agency to fight. And why do we have to fight them? Well, they're corrupt, they're not transparent, they lie, they cheat, they retaliate, they traffic your children to foster care, they alienate your children from you as parents. Those are some of the things that they do is awful. On top of that, if you all can picture 8 social workers that used to work at the Department of Child and Services in Arizona, they don't call it CPS, they call it Department of Child Services. That's why when I say CPS, I mean the system of child protection system, the system, child protection system. So these hard 8 social workers decided in Prescott, Arizona in the 2022, that was 2 years ago, that they wanted to exhibit how they feel about children and parents. So they bought 8 pink t shirts, and on the front had the stencil written where it says professional child kidnappers. It wasn't in small print, it was big enough that everybody could see. And on the back, they had, do you know where your children are? That to me is a clear message the social workers out trolling for children and taking them illegally. And they do that. So that's the agency you're dealing with. Now, I would like to go back in time to understand the history of protecting our children from abuse and neglect. That history goes back a long time. There's been societies and agencies created to help protect the children from neglect and abuse. And historically, it talks about children abused in the 1600s. Now, what I mean by that, and that's why it's really important here, and I'm trying to do something different and give you kind of this history here. Whew, boy, I am just so relieved I finally got paid after 8 days with no food, and I'm so thankful. That is a hard thing to accomplish where you just can eat maybe peanut butter on little tiny breads or crumbs from something or whatever. So I want you to understand that this history can go a long ways here. And I have a person that I want to extend apology to, Faye, who's from Richmond, Kentucky. We discussed the air history, and we came to the conclusion that the history of child protection in America is divisible into 3 areas. The first area extends from colonial times to 1875 and may be referred as era before organized child protection. The second era spans 1875 to 1962 and witnesses the creation and growth of organized child protection through non-government child protection societies. The year 1962 marks the beginning of the third or modern era, the era of government-sponsored child protection services. So you see, there's 3 parts, but we've been doing child protection since the 1600s, colonial days. And it wasn't organized. It wasn't like what we think today. And I'm not talking about today, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the history of child protection and the society before it was organized government funded agencies. That's what today is. Oh, now Faye did find. Hey, good morning, uh, McBee. Faye's not here yet. Well, maybe she is, but she may be just listening. Um, but Faye sent me this great documentation. It's quite interesting, and I firmly believe 100% of it. And again, my apologies go out to Faye for having her misunderstand me because we were trying to talk about the history of neglect, of abuse, you know, neglect and abuse. Yeah, I know it's Leslie. I did not know if you want me to use your name Leslie when you say Nia McBee. So I'm glad to see you this morning. Now, the history of child protection in America is divisibly, as I said, into three eras. The first era extends from colonial time to 1875 and may be referred to as the era before organized child protection. As I said, the second era spans 1875 to 1962 and witnesses the creation and growth of organized child protection through non government child protection societies. So we're still in societies up to 1962. The year 1962 marks the beginning of the third or modern era, the era of government sponsored child protection services. It wasn't until 1875 that the world's first organization devoted entirely to child protection came into existence, and the New York Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. Before 1875, many children went without protection, although there has never been a time when children were completely bereft of assistance. Criminal prosecution has long been used to punish egregious abuse. In 1809, for example, a New York shopkeeper was convicted of sadistically assaulting his slave and her um, 3-year-old daughter. In 1810, a woman was prosecuted in Schenectady for murdering her newborn child. Although the woman admitted to several people that she killed the baby, the jury found her not guilty, probably because she was insane. In 1869, an Illinois father was persecuted for confining his blind son in a cold cellar in Illinois in the middle of the winter. Counselor argued that the parents have the right to raise their children as they see fit, but the Illinois Supreme Court disagreed, writing that parents' authority must be exercised within the bounds of reason and humanity. Good morning. Who am I talking to?
Hey, hi. I'm looking for an appointment with Bob.
This is Bob you're speaking to. Who is
Hey,
this?
Jack.
Who is
Sorry.
this?
This is Sriram. So I have
Freedom.
like an
Okay.
active CPS case. I want to schedule a meeting and see how you can help me.
Well, I can have you as my guest to show talking, and I can try to help you. Other listeners may help, or they may benefit from me talking to you. Um, so, your first name again is what?
Uh, Sriram, Sriram. S for Sam, R for Richard, I for India, R for Richard, A for Apple, M for Mary.
Okay,
Sriram,
so you're from the country of India. What city in India?
Hyderabad.
What is it again? I'm sorry.
Hyderabad in the south. Hyderabad.
Okay, Hyderabad in the south in India.
Yeah,
Now,
Hyderabad.
right,
Hyderabad. Yeah.
right. Well, this is great. I'm glad you're here because I have had people text in from countries. I think you're the second caller. I had a person from Mexico call me, but most of them
Okay.
have been just text messages. I've had Australia and Canada, and in Europe, I've had the United Kingdom, and
Mm-hmm.
I've had Sweden and Denmark
Uh,
in South.
I'm in Atlanta currently.
I'm sorry. Can you?
I'm in Atlanta currently.
Oh, you're in the United States.
Yeah, I'm in the United States.
So what you're doing is you're traveling to the United States.
I'm on H1B and I married a US citizen and applied for a green card. As I'm an immigrant now, I'm more worried that CPS is trying to put child neglect case on me.
What is CPS trying to do to you?
They are trying to accuse me of child neglect.
Okay. I'm having a hard time. They accuse you of
Medical
what?
neglect.
Okay, you are being accused of neglecting giving medicine to your children.
Uh-huh.
Now, what is the okay? That's the allegation. Now, what is your wife? Is your wife accused of anything?
I believe I'm not sure exactly. I think my wife is the one who called CPS. But my wife has active CPS cases from her previous children with a different father.
Okay. Now, you're married to an American woman. You're from India, and right now you're in
Uh huh.
Atlanta. You're in Atlanta, Georgia, and you're dealing
Uh
with a
huh.
CPS case where you, the father, has been accused of not giving medicine to the children. Is that what it is?
Yes, medical neglect because my wife wanted to have a home birth and we did not go to pediatrician after the home birth happened. So we did not go to pediatrician for 2 months. So
Now,
when
why
we
is
went to
your
the
wife not
pediatrician for the first,
charged? Why is your wife not charged with the same allegation as you are?
I think even she is charged. We don't know much about the CPS details. We don't have any information. They just called me yesterday and they told that there is a active CPS case going on, and we need you guys to send the pediatrician records for the subsequent visit, and they want to come and look at the baby, look at my daughter. So
Well,
I said, okay. But then my wife called them back and she yelled at them and saying that you need to talk to a lawyer, not to us.
exactly. You're very smart because you don't want CPS in your home. You don't want CPS talking to
Uh-huh.
your children. You don't need to give them anything. You need an attorney. That's your first step. That's my rule number one
Uh-huh.
is get an attorney.
Uh-huh.
Now, the attorney doesn't
Okay.
mean the court appointed attorney. It means a real bona
Uh-huh.
fide dependency family law attorney.
Okay. So I need to wait for court to appoint an attorney?
Yeah, you need to find a family dependency law attorney.
Family dependency law attorney.
And I
Okay.
have one right now. You get a paper and
Mm-hmm.
pencil? You got paper and pencil?
Sure. Give me a minute. Can he practice in this Atlanta, Georgia area?
Now, I'm going to give you a phone number and you're going to get a consultation with my attorney. But you need to write the number
Okay.
down.
Okay. Sure.
The number is 888-888-6582.
So it's 888-888-6582.
Right, that's my office. And when you call in,
Mm-hmm.
you tell them you want a consultation with Mr. Vincent Davis, Vincent W. Davis.
Okay.
Now
Mm-hmm. Okay.
he is the attorney that produces the show, but he also
Mm-hmm.
is 35 years experience of fighting CPS and
Mm-hmm.
representing people. He is very experienced. He is a trial attorney, and he has sued them in civil and federal, state and federal court. He's won lawsuits against them,
Mm-hmm.
so he's a fighter, but he'll offer a
Mm-hmm.
consultation for 30 minutes to talk to him about how to
Mm-hmm.
navigate with your case. Now, he'll give you 30 minutes for
Mm-hmm.
$60. It's only a $60 fee for 30 minutes. And it's well worth every penny
Okay.
because he will tell you how to navigate and whether you're interested in you hiring him or not. He can work in any of the states. He worked in the
Mm-hmm.
states. The thing is, if he comes
Any
to
state. Mm-hmm.
Atlanta, Georgia, is that where the case is, then he has
Mm-hmm.
transportation and accommodation expenses. Those are the big ones that he has.
Okay.
But he will talk to
Mm-hmm.
you. So you have nothing to lose by talking to him. When you do call in, tell him that Bob Pace sent
Mm-hmm.
you. And then when you speak to Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Davis, say that Bob Pace sent you, because
Mm-hmm.
you have a
Okay.
very hard situation. You got a very crooked CPS
Mm-hmm.
organization that are going to try to rob you, meaning they want your children in
Mm-hmm.
custody so that they can collect money for them every month. It's a money making business
Mm-hmm.
venture. And these CPS
Mm-hmm.
workers are evil. They are so evil.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to be fair to
Mm-hmm.
you. They're going
Got
to try to take away your children and
got
try to
it.
milk the money out of the state for those
Mm-hmm.
children. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, in my case,
Okay.
they were
Mm-hmm.
getting $60,000 a month from the state for having my children in foster
Mm-hmm.
care. It was all about money. It's an $80
Okay.
billion business. They're very crooked. And I'm sorry to tell you that. I really am
Mm-hmm.
sorry to tell you that. But I was just talking about some
Mm-hmm.
social workers in Prescott, Arizona, that wore pink T-shirts
Mm-hmm.
that had stenciled on the front, "They're professional child kidnappers,"
Okay.
and on the back they
Mm-hmm.
said, "Do you know where your
Mm-hmm.
children are?" So it's very important to
Okay.
do that. Now, the other thing is, do not open the door. Do not let them in your house, even if the police are there.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to stay behind the door,
Sorry.
keep it closed, and don't answer the door. Do not answer the door.
Okay.
And if you happen to see the
Okay. So
social
what would happen if
workers, you do what your wife says.
so
You need to talk to their attorney first before you talk to them any further.
okay. Uh-huh. Okay.
So right now,
So
you,
would
your
they put more
wife,
charges on me
I'm sorry, go ahead.
if I don't if I don't open the door? Would they put more charges on me? Because right now they
No, they're
all
going
they
to
say
try
that
to
they
intimidate
just
you.
want to open.
They're going to intimidate you. It's your constitutional right. Are you a citizen
Uh-huh.
now in the United States? Are you a U.S.
No,
citizen?
I'm not a US citizen. That's what I'm worried about. I
But
just
you're
started
trying
the
to
green
become
card
a U.S.
application.
citizen. Well, all U.S. citizens
I want.
have a constitutional right that no one may enter their home unless in extreme danger, meaning that the child is being uh, hurt, or there's a gun going off, or there's
Uh-huh.
knives, or there's domestic violence. Then they can enter the home. The
Uh-huh.
other way, they have to have what's called
Okay.
a court order, a warrant. They have to have a warrant before
Okay.
they can come in your home or take your
Okay.
children. So my best advice,
So if they have a okay, go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
the best advice is for you and your wife to hunker down and stay in your home and don't answer the door. And if one time you're outside and you encounter them, then tell them, I need your name and I'll have my attorney contact you.
Okay. Okay. If what should I do if they come up with a warrant?
Say that question again.
What should I do if they come up with a warrant, court order?
Are you talking about the funding or I'm confused. Are you talking about the money?
No, if they come up with a court order to enter into the house, a warrant or
Well,
something
yeah,
to
they don't need to
enter into
walk
my
around the
home.
house or look in a house because they could plant something in your house or they could see something that you may think is okay, but they think is bad. So is that making any sense?
Yeah. So can I get the charges dropped if I like fight like this way, like not let them in and uh, provide them with the pediatrician record?
Yes, yes, yes. Well, I'm telling you,
Okay.
right now you need to talk to
Uh-huh.
Vincent Davis. He's the man that's going to help you.
Okay.
All right, and
Okay. Got it.
I
Got
have.
it.
Okay, so anything else you have for me?
No, that is all for
Yeah,
now.
do not trust them. They are bad people. Do
Okay.
not trust them. Okay.
Uh,
Thank
okay.
you for
Got it.
calling in,
Got it.
and it's good to talk to somebody from India. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, to all your listeners out there, we have a new country. We have India. The guy is from India, and he just called in from Atlanta, Georgia. Apparently, he married a girl in the USA. They have a child, and he's being accused of medical neglect. Maybe there's something that the child needs or something, but they're trying to invade his home and try to do all kinds of things. So I'm telling you, get yourself an attorney. He's going to call Mr. Davis and have a consultation. And that's my rule number one, is to talk to Mr. Davis at 888-888-6582. And he'll do that consultation for 30 minutes for $60. It's a really good benefit. He'll talk to you how to navigate with CPS because CPS, is like open heart surgery. If you know anything about open heart surgery, you need a medical doctor to work on your heart. A layperson can't. You can't cut open your heart, and so that's why a public defender or layperson, that's not going to work for you. A plumber or a shop mechanic, no, that's not how you do open heart surgery. With CPS, it's like open heart surgery. You need a professional family dependency attorney, a professional family dependency attorney who specializes in fighting the CPS system, the child protection system. That's what you need. That's what you need. Welcome, Michelle Partner. Glad to see you back. We have McBee, who is Leslie, that I talked to last night, and she's back this morning. And good to see her. And then we have Christina Renzo, who's been on before, um, and it's good to see you. We have Lori Hilner. Now, Faye, if you're out there, um, please wave hi. I was attempting to talk about the history, and I think I presented a lot better way than I was trying to yesterday. And again, my apologies go out to you. Um, so I'm happy because I got some food. You don't know what it is. I mean, you work hard and you keep trying to work, and when that food's not there and you depend on your livelihood, that is so hard. That's so hard. But I'm here. I've not failed. I've been on here twice a day for every day since October. So that's a long time. A lot of shows. I talked to over 500 people and talked to every state And I have talked to one social worker, Carol from Maryland. And country wise, I've had comments from Australia and Canada and Mexico. In Europe, I've had Denmark and Sweden. In South America, I've had Ghana, which is opposite Venezuela, north of Brazil on the coast. Then I've had Africa. I've had Mozambique, which is south of Somalia and across from Madagascar and north of South Africa. I've had Rwanda, which is near a big lake in East South Africa, the middle of the continent. I've had Liberia, who's on the west side of northern Africa, a coastal country there, and he's called in regularly and has talked about what he does, protecting his children and so forth. And then uh, boy, and today we have India. So now we're spreading around the world now. We've got another country, India. So CPS is everywhere, and I'm afraid to say it's very corrupt. If you know the story of Alice in Wonderland, Allison was in her backyard and she fell in a rabbit hole and she didn't really know where she was. And she kept entering rooms after rooms with weird things saying, like, off with your head, and rooms that went nowhere, places that went nowhere. CPS is like your Alice in Wonderland. They're amazingly that bad, that crazy. So you got to be careful there. You have to be careful there. Welcome, Rosemarie Lombardo. And thank you, Michelle. I'm glad too. There are ACDCs. I don't know what is called, but it's running out next month. What is ACDC? As long as everyone goes well, there'll be a trial discharge. Okay, your kids are coming out. Okay, or something there. It's the whole man. I agree. Okay, Michelle. All right. Thank you so much for your comments and activity in the room and your emojis and everything else. I was talking, uh, see, we're talking about a case in Illinois where it's so cold. Um, and if the parents commit wanton and needless cruelty upon his children, either by imprisonment of this character or by inhumanely beating, the law will, um, by imprisonment of this character, the law will punish him. In 1856 was the first rape conviction in California history and reached the state Supreme Court. The victim was 13 years old. And from 1856 to 1940, the majority of rape appeals in California involved child victims. Now, prosecution was not the only remedy before 1875. And as early as 1642, in colonial days, Massachusetts had a law that gave the magistrates the authority to remove children from parents who did not train up their children properly. In 1735, an orphan girl in Georgia was rescued from a home where she was sexually abused. In 1866, Massachusetts passed a law authorizing judges to intervene in the family when, by reason of orphanage or of the neglect, crime, drunkenness, or other vice of parents, a child was growing up without education or solitary control, and in the circumstances exposing said child to idle and disillusioned life. Whether or not a statute authorized intervention, judges had inherited authorities to stop abuse. Justice Joseph story wrote in 1886. For although in general parents are entrusted with the custody and the education of children, yet this is done upon the natural presumption that the children will be properly taken care of. But whenever this presumption is removed, whether, for example, is found that the father is guilty of gross ill treatment of cruelty towards his infant children, in every such case, the court of chancery will interfere and deprive him of the custody of his children. Before the spread of non government children protection societies beginning in 1875, intervention to protect the children was sporadic, but intervention uh, occurred. Children were not protected on the scale they are today, but adults were aware of the maltreatment and tried to help. Now, I could go on and on about the history of child abuse and neglect. I don't want to use the word child protection services because everybody's going to think I'm talking about the beginning of time, the 1600s. Child protection services did not come to after the society had done their work. You see, there's been societies and agencies throughout history. And when I'm talking about the history, I'm talking about a timeline of events that have happened from people that are trying to protect their children from neglect or abuse. There's been a lot of societies formed that did so, a lot of wealthy people that tried to help them, and so forth. But children were abused in slave labor, commonly called sweatshops. So the cruelty of children, the protection and neglect of children has been going on, and there's record involvement since the 1600s. And, there was one case where a man was charged for beating up his son. Um, so there's a lot of history in there, and there's a lot of pages on the web page you can find it. But Faye had introduced me something really nice, and I appreciate her. Now, Rosemary Lombardo says, um, as long as everything goes well, there will be a trial discharge August 22nd, which is good news. And Michelle says it's the whole man, and Michelle says agreed. Rosemary further said they want you to crazy, not happy. Basically, it's the 18-month mark. They are the fakest people I ever met. That's so true. This is bull. How can this be legal that they can collect money off our children? I don't know what money you're talking about they're collecting. I'd like to know more about this, what you're saying. Michelle says, the Bayer Company was supplied Nazi German women to kill to use their medicine on. The same medical structure is our current healthcare system. And Michelle Portner says, if we all know hospitals are targeting children to get foster care, how is this not restructured for incentives to actually be family unity? Good point, Michelle. Good point on there. Now, I've talked about, how to interact with this podcast. I've said about the phone call. We've already had a caller from India that had called in. Um, there's something that is called comments. When you're making comments, you will make sure it pertains to CPS questions. This is a lot to talk about in this world today, but I only want to talk about CPS questions. Please share your name, city, state, or country and be complete with your case. It's hard for me playing ping pong ball with your case. If I ask a question and you answer, then I have to ask another question and back and forth, back and forth. So if you can start off with your story from the first instigation of who was involved, and then it's like, is there a husband, wife involved? Are there two fathers, three mothers, two mothers? all the children with the same parents, and then you want to say what your neglect or abuse was. What was in your neglect or abuse? And then what transpired? Were your children immediately taken because they're in extreme danger, or they were just taken because they wanted to be put into foster care? Those are important things or concepts you need to tell me about. Then bring it up to the current day, and then tell me what your next court uh, day is, and I can help you. I can help you there. So get those comments coming in. I've seen some of them already. And make sure you show me your name, city, state, or country, and be complete with your case. No ping pong. And as I said, I already talked about the country, but we've had a lot of representation. So CPS is a worldwide thing. It's bad out there. It really is. Now, I've talked about the comments and the phone number that you can, but if you want to be a guest on my show, you want to contact the show producer. Her name is Grace, and she works really hard, and I'm thankful for her behind the scenes. She says if you want to be on the show as my guest, you need to write her an email. That's grace at vincentwdavis.com. Her email is grace at vincentwdavis.com. You write into her and you tell her what you need. Um, it shouldn't be very, very much, and it should be able to. They should be able to help you with what you need there and how you're supposed to contact them. So that's a third way to interact with the podcast. One way is the phone call. The second way is the comments, and the third way is to be a guest. So I'm going to leave the phone number as one of the three ways that you can contact me on the show. Now, Michelle says the Bayer Company was supplied Nazi German women to kill to use their medicine on. This medical structure is our current healthcare system. I don't. I guess you're implying that the Bayer Company, which makes aspirin, was supplied to Nazi German women to kill. I thought that was after the war. I mean, I'm really lost about that, Michelle. But if you can tell me more. If we all know hospitals are targeting children to give to foster care, how is this not restructured for incentives to actually be a family unity? Well, if they're telling you to depart or to take apart your children, that's not family unity. Unity, family unity, is supposed to bring the children together, the mother and father, and go over things that may be the problem. Maybe the father doesn't know how to discipline his children. Maybe the mother doesn't know how to bathe or wash the children. I mean, there could be lots of reasons why, but they should be able to be open and go slow and help the parents take care of their children to keep them from neglect or abuse. Now, Rosemary says, well, foster parents get money and they should help parents in need, but they don't. That's true. The foster parents get a little bit of money. They don't get the money that the CPS gets. They don't get the billions of dollars that CPS gets. CPS is an $80 billion business. I know where part of that money it comes from is that I had three children that were taken in by the Orange County CPS, and they were collecting over $20,000 for each child. That's $60,000 per month for those three children, as long as they're in custody. And so they were they were told. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Rosemary further said they separated my kids. They put my daughter in 4 different foster care homes and put my son with his dad who had cockroaches. Well, first of all, it's supposed to be the family is kept together. And as you're going through your safety plan, wherever you're told that you're supposed to do, when you complete that, you should be reunited with your children. They should have visitations too with your children. So I know how hard it is for you to understand CPS. I have a hard time listening too. Still a little dizzy, but I got food in me. I'm just trying to, maybe it's no food for 8 days, and then suddenly you have food and your body just reacts it differently. Um, but I'm doing okay. I thank you for your concerns. Um, I'm going to check to see if one of my visitors not here. Oh boy. Now, it's so imperative you get my rule number one, that attorney. But rule number two is how to keep track of your paperwork, and it may be a mess. I didn't keep track of it, I didn't have really paperwork. You need to organize it. And the best way to organize paperwork is to get you a filing system. And a notebook that's 6 inches thick with 3 rings is a good way to keep track of all your paperwork. Then you have individual subject uh, envelopes put on each of the different subjects. One of them may be the incidents. It's very important to keep track of your incidents. Incidents by the police, by the social worker, by the kids, by the parents, by all the incidents you have. You start off with the date, time, and location. So you start off with the. So there's rule number two is that you're going to make the incident log. You're going to show the date, the time, and the location and the children involved. Then you're going to describe the incident. What is it? And you can do that within usually a sentence. And then after that, you want to put the outcome. What transpired? Is it still ongoing? If it's ongoing, you can come back later and update that. And you do that with each incident and your organization skills done there. And so you're going to send them off to. So with that notebook, you want to start your next subject, and it'll be your programs. You want to make a log of your programs, like anger management, your drug rehab, um, domestic violence. There's all these different programs that you can attend. And when you complete it, put the certificate in there, punch the holes, the 3 holes, and put it in there, and keep a log of what you did. Same thing goes true with parenting classes. You want to keep a log of all the parenting classes. And you want to make sure that that Your certificates are included in there also. Just punch holes in it. Then another subject matter be court papers. All your court papers can go in there. You just hole punch them. Make a log of your court papers. Have these logs, at the front of each subject, and it will help you. It will help you. This notebook's supposed to help you, not hinder you. Also, a use of a highlighter, a yellow or a pink highlighter will come in handy. Another subject matter could be info, places that you visit, websites, names, phone numbers of CPS, state agencies, how to appeal, all those things. That would be in your info section. Then you can have another one called the court papers. All the papers received, arrange it in date. In date, the oldest being the on top further back in, and um, the newest one stuff. So have that good paperwork because you'll need it. Also, don't forget your medical records, your school records, your child's birth certificate with the parents' names listed on there. And you don't want them easily adopted, so you got to make sure they stick with their parental names. So the paperwork is really important. But the third one I have is you have to say no to social workers. You have to say no to policemen. You also don't want to let them in your home. As I was talking with the gentleman earlier, you not let them in your home. And most of you are starting to learn that. They have to have a warrant or an intimate cause to enter if they're in danger or anything. They have to have an intimate cause. So the rule three is that you say no to social workers or police, use yes no answers, and it starts becoming comfortable, tell them that you need their names and so that you can talk to your attorney about them. Also, do not let them in your home. Do not let them take your children. They have to have a warrant that says specifically what they can take and what they can do. And it's got to be very current and a valid warrant signed by a wet judge's signature and not highlighted is the actual attorneys that you're working with. Because you need to talk to them if you get accosted by these people. They're not very friendly, they're not very nice. But an easy way to tone down the anger is say, I need to speak to my attorney about these matters. I need your phone number and name. And they can get it from them and everything will be fine. Now, there's another thing called medical transfer. Medical kidnapping. You got to be careful with medical kidnapping. Hey, Archie. Archie is from Liberia. He checks in with me all the time, and I'm so glad you did. Welcome, Archie. You're really good. Also, we have Frank Richard. What about discussing the topic and only my opinion in that I believe in our civil rights, parental rights. Don't forget children's rights. I agree with you, Frank. Everyone together do not comply to such allegations. Well, you can call me, Frank, what your specific question is, and I will help you. Tell me what topic you like to talk about. Rosemary says they separated my kids. They put my daughter in 4 different foster homes and put my son with his dad who has cockroaches. And that's a terrible thing to hear. I don't like hearing that at all, Rosemary. Because being with cock infection roaches is bad. Parents got to realize that fighting among themselves or using CPS to help get anything is bad. That will not cover everything. That will not cover everything. I'm going to stop for a moment. All right, I'm back. I'm sorry I had to leave for a moment, but I'm back here. Um, Frank, I'm waiting you for your topic. I have no idea what city or state you're from or country. We know Archie just joined us from Liberia, which is on the west coast of Africa, North Africa. And I'm glad to see Archie's been a regular participant in this room, and he's tried to help out his native country there in Liberia. And so CPS is a hard animal to swallow. They are so bad. I talked about the pink ladies. I don't think I've told you about this one person that wrote on her Facebook page. She's a social worker, and she placed an ad from 1848. Now, 1848 was an ad that ran that said black children for sale. Now, this social worker is black herself, so I have no idea why in the year 2024 she'd run an ad on her Facebook that said black children for sale. Plus, she's a black person, so I don't know what she's trying to sell or what she's trying to get the message to convey. But that's your typical black, excuse me, your typical social worker. Your typical social worker. And it's sad. It is, we're supposed to be nice to parents. We're supposed to be providing a service. What kind of animals are these social workers? I've had one social worker that talked in the show to me for 40 minutes, and she was very professional. She talked about how she envisioned the child protection system should work. It was not a negative experience, and I challenge any more social workers to do the same because I love to hear from you. I love to hear from you. So as I say, it's okay. He's from Florida. Good, Frank. Thank you. There is no justice, no merit, no due process. There's abuse of power, and it is the oldest tactic used to break a society down. I agree with you, Frank. But what is the question you want me to answer about your CPS issue there? Yeah, I know about divide and conquer. When you take apart a society in small pieces, you can conquer them. You have to be united. If everybody stood up to the social workers. But Frank in Florida, what do you what is your CPS question? I know you made some comments, but I wonder if there's something there. Now, Rosemary was talking about her kids being separated, and they put her daughter in four different foster homes, and her son with his dad who has cockroaches. I mean, I don't understand why the son would not be placed with you, Rosemary. And these foster parents are getting lots of money, but they're not getting as much money as the social workers are. And I know about medical trafficking, Michelle Portner. She says we all know hospitals are targeting children to give to foster care. How is this not really structured for incentives? It is. It's terrible, Michelle. I agree with you. Um, so we have Michelle and Rosemary, and I'm going to have to end the show because my time is up. And I want to thank all the people that have texted in or called in. Thank you, Frank Richard from Florida. Thank you, Archie from Liberia. Thank you, Rosemarie. I forgot what city and state. Same with you. Thank you, Michelle. There. Um, I want to thank Christina Renzonso. Um, I don't know. I forgot what place you're from. And Naya McBee is from Florida, who's Leslie. She talked to me last night. It was so nice to have her. And thank you, Lori, too. God bless y'all. And this is Bob Pace signing off.